Greyhorn Pagans Podcast. Here we discuss all matters, paganism, heathenism, witchcraft, history, and mythology. Leave a like, leave something nice in the comments, share this with everyone, and enjoy yourselves on this amazing episode of the Greyhorn Pagans Podcast. Welcome back to the Greyhorn Pagans Podcast. It has been a while. It's been, a day since I recorded, a week since you'll hear this, and today I have a very special guest with me, Angelo, a Italian Buddhist, a Buddhist who is from Italy. I'm not sure if Italian Buddhism really is a thing. Approached me over Twitter. Yes, Twitter still refused to call it X. Never called it X. I mean, I have an ex, but that's ex-girlfriend, so completely different story. Anyway, approached me over Twitter. Wanted to talk about some things about Buddhism, paganism, traditionalism. All very interesting things, and he has a whole script actually with notes and bullet points and everything. So Angelo, thank you very much for coming on, and introduce yourself, man.
As you said, I'm Angelo. I'm Theravada Buddhist from Italy. And on this episode, I'd like to talk about the tradition that I'm following, the Buddhist school, Theravada Buddhism that I'm following. I'd like to talk about how it can be syncretized with the various forms of European paganism, both historically and in the modern age. And I'd like to explore the Dharma with you to debunk some popular myths that get thrown around on the internet. Like, for example, that Buddhism is a religion of peace, or that it's about escapism. Mm-hmm. And finally, I'd like to address the problems of the modern age. I'd like to talk about why it's so important to follow a spiritual path in this age of spiritual and moral decadence.
The Greyhorn Pagans Podcast is proudly sponsored by Shop Reclaim Repurpose and their Hnefatafel set. That is Viking chess. A centuries-old 2-player strategy game that is easy to learn but rich with complexity. The defending player aims to escape the corner with their king, while the attacking player aims to capture the king. Hnefatafel is about outwitting your opponent and making strategic decisions based on the board's ever-changing conditions. This portable version of Hnefatafel, or Tafel for short, is perfect for history buffs, Viking enthusiasts, or anyone looking for a unique and challenging board game that can be taken on the go. Perfect for the upcoming holidays, of course. And with my code seen on screen now, which will also be in the description box down below, of course, you can get 10% off your purchase on one or more, of course, Tafel sets. simply go to his website, shop reclaimrepurpose.etsy.com. Use coupon SteinfoxTafel for 10% off your entire purchase. Again, coupon code SteinfoxTafel, or go to the link shown on screen for 10% off. Thank you so much for Shop Reclaim Repurpose for sponsoring us. It means the world. Now let's get back into the show.
Before introducing Buddhism, I'd like to talk about my family background. I was raised in a traditional family in southern Italy, and as you probably already know, in the south we tend to be more conservative than the northerners. And actually, my parents are very open-minded. They're agnostics, but they still educated me with the traditional values which are found in the various religions of the world. And at the time, back when I was a child, the only kind of spirituality that I could approach was, of course, Catholicism. And back then, of course, I did not have prepared mind to embrace any kind of spirituality. I was too busy playing video games. And I only got back into spirituality around 5 years ago when I started going to university. I started reading about the history, the ancient mythology of the Greeks, the Romans, and day by day I started noticing that there was clear connection between the ancients and us in the modern age. And being a language student, I also noticed these connections more clearly, because of course our languages are derived from the languages used by the ancient Greeks, Romans, while Christianity, for example, Jesus spoke Aramaic, which is definitely not an indo-european language. And I became fascinated with their civilizations, their culture, their religion, and I wanted to explore these ancient religions, because I found out that they were radically different from the kind of spirituality that we have today in Christianity. For example, as you know, paganism is more based on orthopraxis. We had the right practices. We do not have the right dogmas. We do not follow dogmatic teaching. And so as my interest in paganism grew, I also started practicing some basic rituals in my room, like offering the first fruits to the gods, offering candles, incense, and all that stuff. But as I kept practicing, I also wanted to find a community to grow together with spiritually. And unfortunately, in my region, I live in Tuscany, there are not any pagan communities, so I had to look into other forms of more organized religions like Hinduism, Buddhism. And since I also used to run a Discord server, where I gathered pagans from all over the world, And a friend of mine on this server, he's still a Buddhist, introduced me to a Nichiren temple in Florence. And so I started attending that temple. I started learning more about Buddhism. I met new people there, which were mostly Italians, fortunately. And so I got closer to Buddhism. First, I got closer to Japanese Buddhism, Nichiren Buddhism, and then I grew tired of Nichiren Buddhism because it was a very sectarian type of Buddhism. If you already know about the Soga Gakkai, do you know about the Soga Gakkai?
I'm not familiar with it.
Well,
I'm not that familiar with Buddhism.
yeah, Soga Gakkai is basically the most popular form of Buddhism in Italy, and I guess it's also in Europe. And this Soga Gakkai originally belonged to the Nichiren school, whose temple I also attended. And as I was saying, I stopped going to this Nichiren Buddhist temple because they were too sectarian. They wanted to indoctrinate you with their teachings. Every time the priest talked about why their school of Buddhism was the only one which led to true enlightenment, and that the others only led to partial enlightenment. And yeah, so they were in a constant were arguing constantly against the other sects, the other Buddhist schools. And also, the last straw was when I completed my. I became an official member of the Nichiren school, and I had to sign a document. And when I had to sign that document, the lay nun asked me to remove from my altar all the objects because they wanted me to follow their dogma. So yeah, it did not sit well with me, and I started doubting their Buddhist school. And so after staying 6 months, after attending the temple for 6 months, I decided to join Sri Lankan Theravada Buddhist temple. And that's the temple that I'm still attending now. I go there every Sunday, every Saturday when there are festivities. And I have to say that it was definitely a huge upgrade compared to the Nichiren Buddhist temple, because they're very open-minded. They're very traditional, but at the same time they're still tolerant of your beliefs. They do not enforce you to believe in anything. And the people there are very kind. They definitely know how to approach and welcome people, even foreigners such as myself, because most of the people there are Sinhalese people. So yeah, they're so from Sri Lanka. I'm basically a guest in their community, but I never felt uncomfortable among them. So yeah, it's a very nice experience. And as I kept practicing on my own and together with others, and also by talking with the other practitioners, I noticed that there was a significant improvement in my lifestyle, in my relationships with people, even with animals or with the gods, because of course in Buddhism, at least in the traditional definition of Buddhism, we still have gods that we make offerings to, like in paganism. And it's actually more motivating than paganism for me, because unlike in the pagan religions of Europe, the gods in Buddhism are still mortal beings, and they're still subjected to patience and suffering. They just live for a much longer period in heaven. And they're also striving to reach nirvana just like us. So when we pray to the gods in Buddhism, we also help each other to reach nirvana together.
Within European paganism, our gods are still, well, mortal as well. I mean, that is the reason why Balder could be killed. You know, even though it was
Yeah.
a
I'm
trick
talking
of
about
Loki, of course.
Hellenism. You know, in Hellenism,
Oh,
they're
the
immortal.
yeah,
Yeah,
the Hellenic gods. That's
yeah.
a very different story. Those are some. Yeah, those are. That's quite a different set of gods. Quite a different
Yeah, because
quite a different pantheon.
I used to follow Roman paganism, and
Oh yeah, of course, of
so
course.
yeah, I syncretized it with Theravada Buddhism, and this kind of syncretism, as I mentioned before, this syncretism was also done in ancient times. There was order of Theravada Buddhist monks during the um, Hellenic age under the Emperor Asoka.
Yeah,
And yeah, there is also an artistic movement in Afghanistan, which surprisingly used to be a Buddhist country. And there are a lot of like, depict the Buddha together with the Greek gods, with Zeus or Hercules. They also depict Atlas holding the triple gems, which is a fundamental concept in Buddhism. Triple gems are the Buddha, the teaching, the Dharma, and the community, the Sangha. Yeah, this concept is depicted in the in Greco-Buddhist iconography, and also some Buddhist schools also penetrated into the Roman Empire. Like recently, we found the archaeologists found out that there were statues of the Buddha, which was probably syncretized with a solar deity in Egypt. And then we have some accounts of some probable accounts of Buddhists in the Roman Empire.
yeah. I
Yeah.
know that Hellenic paganism and the Egyptian pantheon, they got syncretized a lot and compared a lot
Mm-hmm.
to each other. I mean, they of course, were in close contact and learned a lot from each other. So I know that there has been definitely has been some syncretism in that, and that Roman paganism is basically just a rip off of Hellenic paganism, like same gods,
No,
just
not really,
different name.
because before it got syncretized with Hellenism, the Romans had many indigenous gods which were lost to time. If you know about Dumezil, do you know about Georges Dumezil? Oh
No,
yeah,
no, I
it's
can't say I do.
a very important author which documents the archaic Roman religion, which was radically different from the religion that we know today. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm not that familiar with the pantheons of Southern Europe. I mean, I'm
Hmm.
Dutch myself, so of course more focused on the Germanic side of things. You know, that's my home. That's closer to home for me. I didn't know there was an even more archaic Roman polytheism, although it does make sense because everything in every region in the world at a certain point was polytheist. I've definitely done some research, some writing about that as well on a old blog that is pretty much defunct by now. But surprisingly, even that the Middle East, like before Islam, everything has an ancient history to it, and even more ancient history to that. So.
Yeah, and as I was saying, there was this historical syncretism between the two religions, Hellenism, Roman paganism, and Buddhism. But we don't have any written documents or accounts of their practices. We can still imagine um, how they were syncretized. For example, today we still have a rather obscure practice in Theravada Buddhism, which is about visualizing the deities and contemplating their aspects. And I believe that this practice might have been used by the Buddhist Hellenics and the Buddhist Romans. And and on another note, Buddhism is also an Indo-European religion.
Yeah.
And yeah, but unlike the other forms of paganism, it embodies the Indo-European warrior spirits within its practices. It internalized this warlike attitude of the other spiritual traditions of Europe. So it deals more with the higher type of war that Hibala talks a lot about. He divides between lower kind of war, which is the physical kind of war, and the higher kind of war, which is spiritual and internal. And Buddhism deals with this type of conflict. And in fact, in Buddhism, the ultimate enemy, the true nemesis of you in your practice is none other but yourself, your ego, which is represented by the impurities such as anger, sadness, lust, etc. And to win this fight against your own ego, you have to practice mindfulness and sense restraint, which is at the core of the Buddhist practice. In the three pillars of Buddhism are morality, meditation, and wisdom. And without each other, you cannot progress in your practice. So you need to, for example, to meditate properly, you need to have proper moral conduct, because if you have right moral conduct, then you can stay free from worries. You can rest assured that you won't be troubled by people. You won't be guilty of anything, and you will be more at peace with yourself. And yeah, so it's very important to highlight this aspect of Buddhism, because in popular culture, Buddhism is often depicted as a religion of peace, a religion of where you can be free to do whatever you want. Because unfortunately, Buddhism has been popularized by Western hippies in the 70s, so they mixed it with
Yeah.
their own modernist conception, which are completely different from the real teachings of Buddhism.
I mean, in the mainstream,
Yeah,
it may be viewed that way. I am, more in tune with the pagan crowd. I'm, friends with at least like one or two shamans, a druid, and all of that. Even somebody who Jin the Ninja goes by Wukong Reborn on Twitter. Great guy, but he is a tantric practitioner. So,
Oh yeah, he's from the Tibetan schools. I'm more
yeah.
on the early Buddhism. Theravada is the early school of Buddhism.
Okay. I mean, I've learned mostly from the shaman that I'm befriended with, and from Jin about what Buddhism is, what Buddhism entails, and it is unfortunately the hippie, the free love,
Yeah, they're
the new age,
new
the
age
new
with
agers, if you will, who basically just adopted Buddhism and were like, oh, now we can do whatever we want because
no well. If
it's
you
free and free love and enlightenment, which means literally just fuck around and you don't even have to find
no,
out.
that's the exact opposite of what the Buddhism teaches. It teaches sense restraint, detachment from sense pleasures. That is why it privileges so much monks who practice to detach themselves from suffering and pleasure. In Buddhism, there are two extremes that need to be avoided.
Like,
And
if you don't mind me asking, if you just detach yourself from the worldly problems, from from negative feelings, from being overly lustful, etc. That to at least to me, this is my untrained mind when it comes to Buddhism, if you will, but that just sounds like I'm ignoring that it is there. Like I am suppressing it, I am not acknowledging it, I'm detaching myself from it, but you're not solving it through that.
no, no,
It's not
no.
at least to me, it doesn't sound like
Yeah, that's a
the
misconception.
Jungian alchemical process of
Yeah, that's
integrating the shadow.
yeah, that's a misconception regarding the Buddhist practice. Buddhism does not teach you to escape suffering, but rather to embrace it. In meditation practice, we learn to notice the various stimuli that like pervade our minds, whether they're about suffering or pleasure, and we don't escape them. We contemplate them. We contemplate suffering in its various forms, and we learn to analyze it so that we can understand that suffering, but also pleasure, is impermanent, and we don't let our minds get carried away by our feelings or passions. So we don't we embrace the impermanence of these worldly passions, and we learn to control them through meditation and sense restraint.
Okay, so it is sort of a integration. Like you don't deny it, you acknowledge it,
Because
but
if you
you.
deny it, then they will rise even. They will become even stronger.
I
That's
have
not the right way
noticed.
to.
I
That's
have
not the
noticed
right.
that in my own life, in my own
Yeah.
practice, if you will.
Mm.
I tried that just because I was sick of the whole like suffering and bad shit happening. I was just like, what? If I just ignore it, then I'm not gonna give it. Not give it any thought, not give it any energy. Therefore, it won't get stronger or weaken or whatever. But as soon as that mindset broke, everything came back. well,
Yeah,
unfolds
you have
really.
to notice these feelings. You have to use your mindfulness
Yeah,
to understand that they're impermanent, that uh, they rise and fall like everything else in this world. So once
it's
you internalize that teachings, the impermanence, then you're free. You can understand how the world works and how to control your mind, how to refrain it from wandering and from getting carried away by passions. This
so
is,
it's
yeah.
it's accepting that those feelings, that those thoughts are there, but not letting yourself
Yeah.
be controlled
Basically,
or be guided by it.
yeah. Basically, according to the some Buddhist monks that I learned from, they say that you cannot control your thoughts, but on the other hand, you can control the actions and the words that arise from these thoughts. So if you do not act according to what your mind says, then you will learn to train your mind to restrain it from immoral actions, immoral speech, and you also you will learn to cultivate wholesome mental states, and you will also learn to achieve mental stability, mental peace, because your mind is like your body. You can train it to do whatever you want. If you keep feeding your cravings, then your mind is just going to demand more and more. It's never going to be satisfied. So that's why Buddhist monks also practice fasting. They avoid talking about sexual issues to train their minds to become more stable. Yeah, to progress in their practice.
Which is quite the opposite of what we see happening in
Yes, yeah.
society
Yeah,
nowadays.
in fact,
It's
the sexual promiscuity breaks the main precepts of Buddhism. Yeah, we have a precept against sexual immorality, which is very important to uphold. And well, in some ancient texts of Theravada Buddhism, the people who broke this precept often ended up being reborn in hell. Yeah, because of course Buddhism also got heaven and hell, and if you keep breaking the precepts, if you keep hurting people, then of course you will have to purify your karma in hell, which is not eternal like in Christianity, but it lasts a very long time. Like it can last millions of years. It's even more gruesome than the Christian hells.
even more gruesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The Christian hell is
They
already
have
fire and
descriptions
brimstone.
of hell. So they have a cold hells and hot hells, hells where you're freezing to death every time, or where you're
Ah,
burning on iron beds. It's very gruesome.
that actually reminds me very much of Dante's Inferno.
Yeah. That's probably where the conception of Christian hell came from. Well, it's not confirmed, but
No, but it's a multi-layered hell with the punishments
yeah.
fitting the deed, and in the very
Yes.
center, it is actually freezing cold instead of just
Oh yeah.
fire and brimstone.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
kind of reminded me of that with the as you mentioned with the different kinds of punishments and a hot hell and a cold hell and
Yeah.
that's interesting, man. I know he was a very very learned man, of course, very in tune. So, but that's interesting. I was in the understanding, and again, I know very little of Buddhism, that Buddhism didn't really knew a thing like heaven or hell, or that the physical life on Earth was hell, which it definitely can be.
No, that's
Not gonna
nonsense.
deny that.
No, it's actually the realm of humans is the best one in Buddhism because, well, just like the in the other pagan religions, it's in the middle of heaven and hell, and we have the
Yeah.
right amount of. We are neither trapped in suffering like in hell, and nor we are distracted too much by pleasure like in heaven. So we can focus on the Dharma better than the other beings. That's why some people wish for a rebirth in a family of monks, rather than wishing for a rebirth in hell, in heaven. Sorry. Yeah, yeah. And there is a contrast between Buddhist laymen and Buddhist monks, because in popular culture it often gets confused. Like many people think that Buddhism is about shutting yourself in a dark room and meditating until you become enlightened. Well, that's nonsense. Because first of not all Buddhists are monks. So no, not all Buddhists have to observe all the precepts of the monks. They do not have to abstain from sex. Like monks, they do not have to face like the monks. And also monks are very engaged in their countries. They teach kids. They provide an education to kids, to poor kids who cannot afford education. They also shelter those kids. Maybe if
Hmm.
they are in abusive families, they will welcome them in their monasteries, and of course, they also provide blessings with rituals in their temples, in their monasteries. For instance, in my temple, the Buddhist religion is ingrained in the daily life of people. So, for example, if there is somebody who is feeling ill, who had a surgery, they will ask the monk to perform a ritual to ask the 28 Buddhas to bless them. So yeah, this aspect, the ritualistic aspect of Buddhism brings it very close to our ancient pagan traditions. And
Yeah, because
yeah,
in Germanic paganism, you would go to the seer or the shaman, or just
mm-hmm.
your local wise man. Ask them for advice. Ask them to commune with the gods, or bring the blessings of the gods. That was and still is very, very important, which is why I feel that at least if you have a tribe, if you're part of a tribe, if you're part of a group, at least know a shaman, or have a wise man in your group, as someone who is closer connected to the divine, or is able to communicate better, at least with the divine. We all have our links with the divine, of course, but for some people let's say the veil is thinner than for others, and not just because we're coming up on Samhain, we're coming up on Halloween, and the veil is pretty damn thin anyway. So yeah, and I do agree with a statement that you made earlier, that religion or spirituality in its proper form, at least not the the New Age kind, which is
which is a corruption of these
yeah.
spiritualities. Yeah,
Yeah, no, exactly. Which is and New Age is great if you if you want to make some money. There's a lot of money to be made.
yeah,
But
yeah.
then again, that money also will cause a lot
Disappear,
of corruption.
permanent. So it
Yeah,
does not make you happy. It just makes you happy temporarily, just like everything. Yeah,
yeah, no, exactly. It won't fill the emptiness that you
yeah,
feel in your soul, especially if you have to have to sell out, have to set aside your morals just to make money. But yeah, I do feel that, and I've spoken to many people about this, and there is a return, there is a revival of proper spirituality with the Greyhorn Pagans. We've coined that as the pagan revival. But you do see, of course, many other spiritual paths, many other religions are growing as well, or at least returning to their proper roots, returning to their proper practice. And I've even talked to some people who are more of the barbarian side. Clay Martin, he was I've read his book as well. He's very, very wise, and I also agree that's coming more from a Germanic pagan standpoint. Of course, that the return of the Männerbunde, the return of the rites of passage, that that really ought to return as well. That the man as man, we should train. We should not only focus on strengthening our mind, but strengthening our bodies as well, being skilled in a form of martial arts, even if it's just like just boxing, or just you just hit the heavy bag. Like that's already training. You're already learning how to how to
defend
handle it,
yourself. Yeah,
how to fight. You're at the very least getting the proper movements in.
yeah, and Buddhism self-defense is definitely allowed. Even though the Buddha never talked about warfare, because of course it was an aesthetic. He did not care about the matters of the world, like war and conflicts. But the various Buddhist countries have a more bloody history than you can imagine. For example, in Sri Lanka, there has been a long conflict between the Sri Lankan Buddhists and the Tamil Hindus. And the latest civil war, which I believe ended in the late 90s, now in even more recently. Actually, I can't remember the year when it ended, but it was definitely a long conflict which led to long and painful bloodshed between different factions. Buddhists fought against Hindus. And I can also mention the conflict between the Buddhists in Myanmar and between the Buddhists and the Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar, which was also very bloody. So yeah, like what the New Age Buddhists want you to believe, Buddhism has also known a war during its history, and self-defense for protecting the Dharma or your people or your country is definitely allowed in Buddhism. Buddhists do not just stand by and watch their countries get taken over by invaders. That's nonsense. And yeah, but the core aspect of Buddhism is still internal warfare. So the main war in Buddhism is war between your primal instincts and your rational instincts. It's all in your mind, basically. It all depends from your mind. There is no external intervention. You cannot ask any gods to help you. Even the Buddha, he cannot enlighten you. He can only guide you. You have to walk the path on your own. And the teachings of the Buddha are verified by direct experience. Unlike in the other religions, the faith in the Buddha and in the gods comes through practice, through personal verification, which is a very interesting concept, which also is highlighted by Evola in his book. The doctrine of awakening.
Yeah, no, it's very much the same way in European paganism or Northern European paganism. I should say, because there is still a difference between North and South, of course. Which is, one of those things, or just another thing that attracted me to the pagan path, because I always found that in the Abrahamic religions, you just have to believe and accept, and you're saved. That sounds too easy. Where's the effort? Where's the fight? Where's the struggle? It's just, I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. Well, voila, that's it. I don't have to do anything ever again, because I accepted it. I have him in my heart, and therefore I will go to heaven. I can be the fucking worst person ever, but because I believe and love him and all that, I'm saved. I never bought into that. I always struggled with that idea, and then I found Germanic paganism. I found Norse paganism, and it's the gods they'll stand by you. They will, nudge you in the right direction, or maybe give you a sign that you're doing the right thing. But other than that, it's just, hey, bro, it's your life. Just make the best of it. Our teachings. How we think. What we like. Just go do it. Go.
Yeah, it's your responsibility.
If you want to worship us through practice. If you want to show that you honor us through practice, honor us, through practice in your daily life,
Yeah. I wanted to get to that point, because you've been talking about why you rejected Christianity. Yeah, I wanted to say that the forms of Christianity that we're exposed to often are like the lowest, most popular forms of Christianity. And back when I was still a pagan, I also had this contempt towards Christianity. But as I began to read more into Christianity, I picked up the mystics. The mystical Christianity. I found out that the teachings of mystical Christianity, like the teachings found in the sermons of Meister Eckhart, they're very similar to the Buddhist practice. It's a kind of internal practice where you have to find God within yourself on your own.
Yeah.
So even in the teachings of Saint Francis, he definitely got inspired, not directly by Buddhism, but through indirect contact, I guess, through the Gnostic sects which were around at the time.
That's a thing that I found out as well, especially or mostly on the podcast, really, because I've had many different people on, including some Christians and people who told me what actual Christianity is. And if you indeed look at his teachings, if you look at the teachings of Christ or Christos, or whatever you want to call him, it does indeed line up with just very basic mystical teachings, really. And it's funny, you mentioned that you have to find God in yourself. I mean, that's literally what he says. The kingdom of heaven is is you. The kingdom of heaven is in yourself. So it's a state of being. It's a form of enlightenment.
Yeah,
you could say, in rather than some place up in the clouds or wherever they think it may be. So I don't necessarily reject the teachings. I definitely do see value in the teachings. Also, if you look at the 9 Odinic values, for example, and you lay them side by side with the proper Christian values, a lot of commonalities. It's just really basic stuff. Be a good man, be honorable, don't kill unnecessarily. Just very basic. Just very, basic stuff. Just very common. Things that everyone should know, that everyone should practice already. But for some reason, it all got twisted. From Jesus or Christos literally braiding a whip on the freaking spot to whip the merchants out of the temple, to if you get slapped on the cheek, turn them the other one as well, so you may get slapped there as well. Christianity has also become a very, very pacified religion, which I very much disagree with, because he was the Lion of Judah. And I mean, lions, they're not house cats. If a lion disagrees with you, he's gonna bite your fucking head off.
Yeah. The Buddha is also compared to a lion in the Tripitaka, in the Pali Canon. In fact, the metaphor for the Dharma is the lion's roar. Because the Dharma is so deep, it's so powerful, that when a Buddha teaches the Dharma, his teaching penetrates the heavens, the hells, the various realms of the world.
Oh, yeah, that actually lines up very much with the lion's roar. Because the lion's roar is not... I mean, in popular media... the tiger's roar is very much used and presented as as a lion's roar, but the lion's roar is to tell everything and everyone that that hears it, like, hey, I'm here. Careful, because I'm here. So that would perfectly line up with the
it teaches you to be
the natural and the spiritual, natural and the mystical.
Be mindful of reality, because it's all about
exactly.
Being aware of the present moment, not letting your mind wander around. That's one of the core practices of Buddhism, focusing on the present.
Yeah, which is also very much misconstrued, misunderstood in the more popular media, because you mentioned it briefly that Buddhism is seen as escapism. It's just disconnect from the earthly and do everything that you can to reach nirvana, because why would you want to be here, in this lower plane of existence, even though it is in every way it is like really the middle. Even if you look at Christianity, it's it's hell, it's earth, it's heaven. In Germanic paganism, our realm is literally called Midgard, so it's quite literally in the middle. So how come it is seen as, you know, an escapist religion? How come it is seen as like, oh, just detach yourself from everything earthly, you know, don't try and mix and mingle with whatever, you know, is going on, like war, whatever teachings.
Well, yeah, it's a very corrupted form of Buddhism which was brought by hippies who were already a subversive movement. You know, they came with, of course, they came with the sexual revolution, which subverted the traditional gender roles, the family unit, and opened the way for the promotion of homosexuality, because the main problem of the modern world is not that there is degeneracy, because the degeneracy has always been in the world with us. People who have always been hedonistic, they always sought sense pleasures out of ignorance, but the what changed today is that those this degeneracy is promoted openly by media today. Yeah. That's the biggest difference between the modern world and the pre-modern world before the 68 movements.
Yeah, no, that's that. Yeah, exactly. You know, first it was like it's acknowledged that it's there, but it's still, you know, small. I mean, the hippie movement.
Yeah.
It was a larger movement, of course, but still, the traditional values were preferred and were still more promoted, and you know, the hippie and the bikers and the rockers and all, they were very much, you know, outcast.
Yeah.
And now it's exactly the other way around. Now it is whatever degeneracy you can think of is highly promoted. You know, so much that it really even goes against biological standards. You know, men are men, but can also be women, and they can also be both, and they can also be neither. And it's, I mean, this world,
Yeah, it's quite fucked up.
to say the least, to say the absolute least. And as I have noticed many times on the podcast before, it is also interesting to see that so many people seem to live in two different worlds. You know, there are the people like you, the people like me, who you know, we found our spiritual path. We seek to better ourselves, to care for ourselves, our families, our community.
Yeah.
You know, to care for our close ones, our loved ones, our family. And then there are the people who will deny any of that, like anything and everything, and are very much stuck in the, like, it's not even hedonistic anymore. I would say that it's even gone way beyond hedonism, because I mean, if you
Yeah, now it's
even
just
you look at hedonism,
chaos. It's pure
yeah,
chaos.
like even hedonism is just like, yeah, I like to party, I like to live well, I like to, you know, seek pleasure, have pleasure, find pleasure. Whatever is going on now goes so far beyond it. So it's so interesting that
Yeah,
there
well,
are,
I believe that there is a real war going on between those two kinds of people. There is a metaphysical war between the
absolutely,
yeah, between
absolutely,
between us who are more conservative, more we stick close to our traditional principles or morals, and we follow a spiritual path, and the normies, the people who are promoting this environment, who, by the way, are Yeah, by the way, they are mostly, I have to say that they are mostly Jewish people promoting this
They are.
ideology of progressivism.
They are.
Of course, I don't want to paint everything with a broad brush, guys. I know there are also many white traitors. The traitors
Oh,
come from every race.
no, absolutely. You know,
Yeah,
the traders and the subversives are from every race,
yeah,
religion,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
caste. But it is true that if you look at um, the heads of like so many think tanks, for example, or the ones who control the
The
groups like.
industries, the porn industry, the entertainment industry, the banks, the
Yeah, no,
everything.
exactly. I mean, you can
Yeah,
you can deny it all you want, and you can call it anti-Semitism all you want, which has become another meaningless word, just like fascism or whatever. You know, it's just another buzzword that gets thrown around, which lost its meaning. But it is just a fact that most of the more wealthy people, the more influential people, are Judaic. You
and
know?
they're also secular Jews. They do not even follow their traditional religion.
No, exactly. They're
Yeah,
secular Jews, Zionist Jews. They're not even like actual ones, because there's nothing necessarily wrong with the practice. I I mean, I think at this point I don't even know what the actual practice is, because that has got become so subversed as well. And Zionism, secularism is presented as this is Jewry, this is Judaism, which I highly doubt it is. That is like
yeah,
that is saying like um it's kind of along the same vein as are you familiar with the Blood Tribe, like who they are?
the blood tribe.
Yeah, no, they are a, a neo-Nazi group,
No, no, no.
most likely sponsored by some three-letter agencies, who will wear they'll wear the Thor's hammer, they will fly, or they use the Othala rune, for example. Like they will use our imagery, they will use our symbols, but put them in a neo-Nazi
Mhm.
context. It's kind of the same thing. Like as pagans, we deny that they are a part of us. Whatever they may use our symbols and whatever subversion, we don't accept that. And I would say that with the secular Jews, the Zionist Jews, it's probably the same way. Like the actual Jewish people, I highly doubt that they're like, oh yeah, we accept those guys. They're part of us. We all
Yeah, yeah.
we all want the same thing.
It's an international mafia. There, of course, not all
Yeah.
Jews are wealthy bankers, merchants. The
No,
local
no,
people.
that's true. I
Yeah,
mean, but yeah, if you look at the larger banks, the larger think tanks, they are all mostly controlled by, well,
yeah,
by
yeah, yeah,
Judaic people. It's a fact.
yeah, and that's why it's so important to follow a spiritual path, because these people are working together to destroy the cultural and spiritual diversity that we have. They
Yeah,
want to unite everything under the banner of progressivism, under wokeism, which is, by the way, the new international cult.
yeah,
Yeah,
and it's a death cult.
yeah, 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 yeah. And that's also why it's important. We should not fight over which religion is the true one. We should instead unite to fight together against the common enemy. Yeah.
Exactly. That is so
Whether you're a
incredibly
pagan, a
important.
Buddhist, because the wokeism is also making its way in India. It's not just in the West. India is becoming more woke by the day. Women are becoming missionaries. They're becoming man haters. They're refusing their traditional religion. And wokeism is pretty much a mind virus all over the world.
Yeah,
So we have to be careful, and we can vote our way out of this, guys. Whether you vote Kamala or Trump, they're going to serve the same masters. You
it's
know
just
that.
like, whoever leader you
Yeah,
vote for, whether that be in the States or Italy or the Netherlands or whoever, they're not. You can vote, sure, but I mean politics is not gonna fix the problem that politics created.
yeah, yeah.
Politicians don't work for you. They don't
They
care
work for
about
themselves.
you.
Yeah. And well, I don't know if some one day there will be somebody who will put an end to this woke we put an end to this ideology, but
I think we're getting closer every day to a
yeah,
full
but
scale revolution, a full out
yeah, but
war,
the thing
perhaps
is
even.
that the men are now completely pacified. They lost their warrior spirit. They no longer want to fight for a cause. They have
Yeah,
porn, they have cartoons, they have video games.
they
They're
have all the earthly
neutralized.
pleasures that they
Yeah,
ever could
yeah.
desire at quite literally the click of a button.
Yeah. And that's why I believe that the most probable outcome will be one where the people like us, traditional people who stick close to our religious traditions, will at some point in time they will create close-knit communities and segregate themselves, while
Yeah.
the norm is the people who still follow blindly the woke ideology will, of course, they will not reproduce, because wokeism is a death cult. It
Yeah.
does not promote reproduction.
No, exactly, because like why would you have children? Like it's climate change and children are bad for the environment, and we have to save the world for our children that we're not getting because it's bad for the environment and the world will, go up in
Yeah,
flames
and
if
then they
we
go
have
ahead
children.
and write articles about why immigrants should make more children.
Yeah,
Even
exactly.
what they
Like, oh
just
no,
hate.
the
They
the
just hate us.
population growth is stagnating, or it's even going down. It's like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
no, why aren't people having children anymore? What do you think? It's become a death cult. Men are chopping off their nuts, which is a great way to not have children anymore. Um, Women refuse to have kids because,
or they just
no,
kill their babies with abortion.
or that, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm a strong, independent woman, I don't need a man, I don't want kids. And then by the time they're 40, 45, and, they're all alone, maybe with their freaking dog, they're like, damn, now I wish I had a family. Now I wish I had kids, but you're 40,
yeah, of course.
45 years
Yeah,
old.
it's their
The,
motherly instincts kicking in.
yeah, but like at the latest time, at the very wrong time. I mean, at 40, 45, yeah, it is still possible biologically, but
Because
it's
that
it's not
happens
it's not
because
wise to do so.
that happens because when they are no longer distracted by casual sex
Yeah,
parties, they finally have the time to think about themselves and they realize how
yeah.
wrong they were.
It's like,
Yeah.
okay, now I have a career, I am a career woman, I'm making this, this good amount of money, I have this big home and every, material thing that I could ever wish for, but I'm still empty. I
Mm.
still feel empty.
Yeah.
What do I want? God damn it, I want a family. I want kids. I want a husband. The very thing that I've been fighting against, that they've been damning and condemning for the last 20-25 years, because I'm a strong independent woman. And
Mm.
of course there are luckily still women who who uphold the more traditional values. I mean, my wife, yeah, she's a bit of both, I guess. She has friends who are drag queens, who are drag kings. She has friends who are transgender, but they're not of the I'm gonna shove it in your face and you have to accept us
Yeah,
kind.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
actually this may sound quite odd actually, but they're the normal kind,
Yeah,
who actually do that because they want to, because it makes them feel better, because it makes them feel like who they actually are. And most of the drag kings and drag queens do not accept minors at their show. I've heard many times before that they even my even our son, our eldest, he is 15 now. Gosh, time flies.
mm.
Um, you think 15 drag show, yeah, sure. No, 18 minimum. And even though he is, our son, even though he's my wife's son and she's, their friend, if they see a minor at their show, it's like, no, guys, no, stop the show. There's a minor here. This is not for their eyes. Okay? So sorry, kiddo. Just come back when you're 18, okay?
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, that's what I want to say. It's very important that we unite against against the common enemy, which is
Exactly.
progressivism, wokeism, because progressivism promotes chaos, destruction of moral, spiritual, and cultural values under the guise of promoting diversity. So yeah, we should take a perennialist approach like Genon and Evola, uh, and we should put aside our differences, and then we should definitely organize communities, movements for ourselves. We can no longer count on the government to help us because they're all corrupt and there's no way out.
Did did we ever? I mean, it's more blatant corruption now, but I don't really believe that, at least in modern times, in modern history, if you will, that the government was really on our side, or at least have become increasingly less. You gotta have some skeletons in your closet to reach top levels of government anyway, because it quite literally means stepping on everyone's heads to rise to the top.
Yeah,
Politics
that's true.
politics is a dirty game.
Yeah.
So if you wanna make it, if you wanna get to the top, you got to play the dirty game, which
Yeah.
means
Yeah.
that you're definitely going to have some skeletons in your closet. It's not just the entertainers like P Diddy, for example. It's not just people like Weinstein or Epstein, who most definitely did not kill himself, if he is even dead, which I also pull into question. But yeah, no, exactly as you said, and that's the beauty of paganism. That's the beauty of Buddhism, and some
Yeah, that's the beauty
some
also.
Hinduism as well. Like we may not follow the same gods, we may not follow the same spiritual path, but we all have a common goal. We all have a common enemy. You could even put it as basic as the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, and that's all. Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to bring up that we need to act together. And I will never stop saying that we need to unite because we're very divided. We're divided between pagans and Christians, between atheists. Even atheists can follow these values even without believing. If they're like the old school type of atheists who do not follow, are not infected by the woke mind virus. 'Cause, well, uh, as far as I know, like 20 or 30 years ago, atheism was not about promoting homosexuality or drag queens. No, it definitely, even this kind of atheism is a corruption of the old atheism.
Yeah.
It's a corruption of everything, of culture, of religion, of science, everything. The ideology they're promoting is pure chaos.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, even the old atheism, it wasn't necessarily about denying God or denouncing God. I believe it's more about I can be a good person without the need for religion. I can be a good person without the need for God. I don't need those commandments. I don't need all these rules basically set up by a higher being to be a good person. I can be that without. Cool. All the better to you. Great. If you can be that without, necessarily being religious or spiritual, great. As long as you follow those values. That's perfectly fine. If you still follow those traditional values, hey,
Yeah, yeah. For example,
you got a plus in my book.
my parents are agnostics, but they do not have this hatred towards Christianity. They do not denounce Christianity or any other religion. They're they're like the kind of people who get called radicals today, but they did not get radicalized. It's the Overton window which has shifted so much that these people, like my parents, are no longer regarded as normal people, because they don't fall in line with the degeneracy that gets peddled around the media.
I mean, hell, like with our ideas, even though they come from different paths, they come from different religions,
Yeah,
we would be called extremists.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Or alt-right extremists, probably, because you're a Buddhist, you follow the path of enlightenment. I'm a pagan, I follow the path of the warrior. Ooh, how dare you? That's not inclusive. No.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
what? It's not supposed to be.
Yeah, it's a messed up world that we live in. We need to stand up for the truth, for the our values, which are
Yeah.
getting threatened by this progressive woke ideology,
But
which wants to like make us slaves to the same, wants to unite all the people, all the cultures, all the religions under a single cult, which is wokeism.
yeah.
And to do this, they need to destroy, they need to subvert our diverse traditions until
Order out of
they're no
chaos.
longer they can no longer be recognized, like what's happening to some Protestant churches, the ones that promote transgenders,
Yeah, oh,
with
I've seen that
women test
churches
to
flying churches flying the rainbow flag, or during the whole COVID era, churches having literally hanging banners. Jesus won't save you. Get the shot.
when
It's
they
like, ah, come on, no, no, dude. Like that's the whole fucking thing that the church preaches. You know,
yeah,
you got to be saved through Jesus, but if Jesus can't save you, go get the shot. It's like, okay, you're done for. Like, nah. And there are literal things that I have seen. I have seen it with my own freaking eyes, and it's like, oh, God's people. Like the church, at the very least, they used to preach, the traditional values. They used to preach that, man should be with a woman and, have children and family and, like, love each other and take care of your neighbors, take care of your loved ones. And now we've gotten to the point like, oh, Jesus can't save you. Get the shot. Excuse me?
yeah, 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 yeah. I know that at least the walking has not penetrated so much Italy as it penetrated America, but it's slowly creeping into the institutions. After the
Yeah.
death of Berlusconi, who was, by the way, a huge friend of Putin, of Trump, of conservatives.
Of all the wrong people.
Sorry?
Of all the wrong people, of course,
Oh yeah. Well, it's still
antichrists, every one of them.
well, Berlusconi still did his stuff. He was not exactly a saint, but
No, no, Berlusconi a saint? Oh, God, if he is a saint, then
yeah,
we
yeah,
have really lowered the bar.
but at least he kind of protected us from the woke ideology until he died. And right
Yeah,
now, it's you can see it on TVs, you can see it on social media. It's creeping into the fabric of society more quickly.
yeah. I
Uh,
do love some of some of the things that Berlusconi used to say. Like, he was such a fucking playboy. It's like, oh,
yeah,
all the immigrants, nah, fuck them, get rid of them. Except for the pretty girls, though. The pretty girls can stay. It's like, yeah, no, of course they can stay, because, hey, like, why not just come over here? Let Daddy Berlusconi take care of you.
yeah.
Oh,
Well,
he was a degenerate fuck in his own right. But
well,
hey,
at least he did not favor the woke people. At least he
no, no,
shielded us from these people.
oh no, definitely not. Like when it came to this is what I've seen, at least when it came to sex and sexual favors and whoever he invited to his parties. Hey, everyone is welcome. As long as you're DTF, welcome.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But it's funny. I do see that in the Netherlands, like we have the group Extinction Rebellion, which is a very very dark occult group. By the way, if you just look at at their symbolism, by gods, they're fucking dark occultist, and they probably don't even realize it. But people are getting just tired of them, like always protesting, always blocking the A12 highway. And at first, like, yeah, people got mad about it because, oh, you're blocking traffic and shit. And now people, or most Dutchies at least, are like, oh, they're at it again. Okay, fuck it. I mean, they're annoying, but like, I tuned them out, so I don't even pay attention anymore, which must suck so bad for them, because that's what they want. They want attention. They need attention.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
even what I read the other day, one this girl who threw soup over a Van Gogh painting. Fucking hate her. She got, I believe, sentenced to 20 months in prison. So there's already there is already a turning point. You know, people are already like either getting tired of the whole woke spiel, or they're not even paying attention to it. Activists, you know,
yeah. Well,
are getting sentenced to to time in prison. So there's a turning point. It's we're getting very close to just fall out like fuck all y'all.
I hope so, but yeah, the thing about their game revolves around the message that they propagate.
Yeah.
So even though they lose a lot of money with their movies, like Disney, Netflix, producing a shitload of war movies, they
Oh god,
they
yeah.
lose money all the time because people fucking hate it. But the point is not the money that they make; it's the message. They want to spread the message, and they want to bring more people to their side.
Yeah,
They
but if so few people are watching, because that's the only way to lose money. If people are just not watching your movies, not watching those bullshit series, then like what's the use of still wanting to spread your message if the reach is getting smaller and smaller and smaller? Like people are tired. People are tired of it. It's like, oh, okay, here we go again. Another white individual replaced by an Asian or a sub-Saharan African or whatever under the guise of diversity. Yeah, okay, sure, diversity, because that's what we need: diversity and inclusion. That's reverse racism, really.
yeah.
But it's against the Caucasian people. It's against the whites, which is a bullshit term, really, because white doesn't exist. It's not even a real color. So that makes it okay. But then when you do that, those movies, those shows, those series, they turn out horribly, and nothing but bad and scathing reviews about, oh god, like, why did they do this? She can't act, she can't sing, he can't act, he can't, he's not credible as an actor or anything like it. Or even, and I think this is like the best part of all, which just shows you their mindset. The newest Snow White movie, of course a colored girl as Snow White. I mean, Snow White, that's because of like how white and unblemished her skin was. And now anyway,
it's a paradox.
but there are dwarf actors. There are literally known and famous actors with who have dwarfism. But they didn't hire any of them to play the dwarves.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they used regular people, and then through the magic of editing and all of that, made them look like dwarves.
Oh, so it's not even diverse anymore. It's just
No,
nonsense.
and there are people like I believe Peter Dinklage, the most well known of the dwarf actors, or little people, however you want to call them. Like, he spoke up against it. He was like, "Yo, these roles, there are dwarf actors. There are so many actors with dwarfism. Why didn't you hire us to play dwarves?" Oh no, because it's too sensitive and we don't want to stereotype. And it's like, what?
No, they're completely gone
So
mad.
you're gonna take rules and money away from people who are, I mean, you could even say like quite literally born into the role because you're scared to insult them?
Yeah.
Am I missing something here, or?
No, they're just missing their brains. That's what they're missing. They're missing their brains.
A good chunk of it, at the very least. My thoughts. No, so, but it's. I don't get it, and it's a thing that I also, you know, just keep telling and keep promoting. I first saw it promoted by, I believe, Asha Logos. I'm not sure his actual name, but the channel Asha Logos, very very good channel for everyone interested in, you know, these kinds of topics. But he said, and I do agree, that we have to separate ourselves, you know, and that's already happening. I kind of spoke about that. When was it? Last Saturday on the round table, the occult round table I was on with the Bush Whisperer shaman. That the schism and the separation of groups and individuals and people, it's already happening. Like, we're already, especially now in the US with the whole like North Carolina disaster and whatever, the government isn't helping them. Any of the bigger NGOs like the Red Cross, for example, isn't helping them. So what are people doing? They're setting up their own fundraisers. They're, you know, going there themselves to actually have boots on the ground. So even in that way, with huge natural disasters, you know, the thing that the freaking government really is for, to help people when that happens, like, even like in that, we're already realizing, oh, if we want to, you know, help these people, we have to do it ourselves. I have seen creators on TikTok, which, yeah, is a platform controlled by the CCCP, you know, by the Chinese government. Sure. But people are able to monetize their videos, and there are creators who like make a video and have that be the fundraiser. I know of one, quite a popular creator, tries an ambulance and all of that. His video made, I believe, like $2,000, and he is donating the money that he made from that video to a cause or a group that actually has boots on the ground in that area, therefore bypassing everything, bypassing everyone. You know, it's going to the smaller causes, the smaller communities, the smaller groups of people who are actually helping. So yeah, even though, you know, that app in particular is still controlled by, you know, the Chinese government, whatever, it's still helping people and circumventing every official institution there is.
Yeah.
So it's already happening. We're already seeing it. There is already, you could say, even with the whole crypto thing, there's already this split economy, even though crypto is still volatile, because, you know, it is all electric, it is all online, and when the service goes down, when the power goes out, you know, you're fucking broke.
Yeah.
You have nothing.
Yeah, it's also happening with pagan communities. Like, do you know about the Asatru Folk Assembly? You don't like them?
No, the AFA, nah, man, nah.
Is it because of their views, or because they look to Christianize, because they pray in churches, they dress like Protestant priests, you see?
It's just they're not real pagans. I don't, yeah. I mean, it's cool that there's the group is there. I was, or technically guess am still part of the Asatru community. I left them. They've also gone like full woke, full politically correct activist nonsense, and they were one of the more prominent Asatru, one of the more prominent pagan heathen communities that is out there. Stupid thing. So it's either they. Yeah, sure. What? I have to fix that anyway. But either they go full woke, or they just become so geared towards just hating Christians and everything Christian, and then adopting a lot of their things, adopting a lot of the dogma. That's my problem with most of these groups. They present themselves to be pagan, but there are very strict rules that you have to hold yourself to.
No, I didn't know that, because I've been reading the book written by their founder, which is Stephen. I forgot the surname.
Yeah, no, I
Max something.
Magdalene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also used to watch their podcast, as they explored a lot of aspects of their religion. It was very interesting, but I don't know anything about their organizations.
No, it's a lot of these organizations. Like I said, either they will go like full woke, or they become very dogmatic. And even a smaller group that I used to be part of, Heathens of Oath and Honor. It devolved into a shit show. When I was still part of the group, we were trying and contemplating to go legit, to like register as a official religious community or whatever. So we had to appoint a figurehead. We had to appoint a jarl. We did that. The founder of the group, the eldest member of the group, or with the most seniority at least, it went straight to his head. Like it blew up his ego, and he started enforcing the rules in a way that he thought the rules should work. Like we had a rule in at least the meme group, which was just like anything goes in the meme group, like no holding back, but don't delete your comments. Even if they're nasty or whatever, don't delete your comments. And then he himself starts deleting his comments. He gets into a fight with my wife, because we were trying to bring some change into the group, because they were too much too Viking focused. They weren't even really about heathenry anymore. It was just Golden Age Vikingry and riding the dicks of every writer that wrote some book about it that got some traction. So it basically became a dictatorship. And now the whole group, for as far as I know, it still exists, but is a shell of its former self.
That sounds similar to what happened to another American movement, Nova Roma, which also devolved into like a power game where the consuls, that they bought their titles with money, and they fought each other on the forums to become the topmost member. It was a joke, yeah. And most people
then you're becoming the whole thing that you're fighting against. If titles can be bought, if positions can be bought, what makes you different than from any other politician, oligarch, whatever? You know, they mostly buy their way into their positions. They buy their way into their power. So as a group who, I'm not familiar with the group itself, but it does sound like they're, you know, a similar group, you know, trying to uphold and maybe revive some traditional values, but then and that's the reason why or my wife and I you know, founded or erected our tribe of the Greyhorn Pagans, because we have been part of many of those groups, you know, the Asatra community, Heathens of Oath and Honor. She is more of a she's a witch, very eclectic witch, very in tune with the dark feminine gods now, because she, you know, really doing some shadow work. I do commend her for it. You know, we saw everything that happened. We saw how it all went down. We saw the corruption slowly creeping in, and I was just so tired of joining groups and then, you know, gaining some traction, gaining some popularity, because I always think a little outside the box. I always try to bring some other members in to refresh it a bit, maybe go into, you know, some other content or other things that are related. Like with Heathens of Oath and Honor, I got a little more into the Indo-European side of things, because I was like, hey, you know, those are the ancestors of our ancestors, if you will. But no, Viking only, heathenry only, and it's like, nah, come on, that's too basic. And those, you know, those posts, those things that I was writing about were getting some good traction as well, you know. So that's when I decided, you know what, fuck it, I'm tired of joining other groups. I'm gonna do this myself. And we are, well, going strong for, well, a few years now. So, yeah, I mean, that's another thing that I can commend, or that I can recommend, I should say, to everyone. If you can find a proper group to join, start your own. Just, you know, build your own tribe, build your own community. You know, the more the better. And try to connect with each other. Try to connect with the tribes. Try to connect the communities. You know, we have to stand together. We have to fight together. You know.
Yeah,
we also
have to like share common goals. If you go down your way as a corrupt leader, then you're no longer following our goal. You're following the goal of our enemies. You are just as corrupt as them.
Exactly.
Yeah. We also have some organizations in Italy. There is the most famous one is Pietas in Rome, and they also built some nice temples to the gods all over Italy, in Sicily, in the south, in Rome. But they actually they're not standard pagans. They follow the Pythagorean philosophy. And you know, when they get involved into this kind of mystery religions, then they also try to make up an uninterrupted lineage. They spread unverifiable myths about the survival of their religions. They associate themselves with the Freemasonry and other such movements. And Pietas is the founder of Pietas is a Freemason, and he claims that yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately,
Why? Come on.
Unfortunately, but that's the only major pagan movement in Italy. Unfortunately,
Pagan movement, and it's still
yeah.
Freemasonry. I mean,
Yeah.
nothing wrong with Freemasonry in of itself. You know, the teachings they're good. You know, it's also it can be a great community as well. I do know some people who who have been Freemasons. I know people who have at least somebody who's been part of the OTO. And you know, he's a great guy. He's a great occultist. But you know, left because of many of the same reasons. Actually, you know, people just either buying their way up the ranks, or quite literally just fucking their way up the ranks. You know, you don't have to do any practice. You don't have to do any work. Just, you know, either open your wallet or open your legs.
Yeah, I don't know if Peters is like that, but I heard some bad news about them as they're Freemasons. They're bound to be like that. They got a lot of shit going on. They of course they want to boost their legitimacy, you know, by saying that somehow the pagan religion has survived in Naples. Out of all the cities, it survived in Naples. Yeah, because the Alexandrian theologians, which were persecuted in the Eastern Roman Empire, fled to Italy, and they said that they moved their schools there, and that somehow, even though we do not know anything about them from the New Age until the Renaissance, their schools, their paganism still survived under secret societies.
Of course. You know,
Yeah.
they just
Always
went
secret.
they went underground and rebranded themselves, you know, so that they could hide and, you know, flee from persecution. You know, it's basically the Freemason story. It's basically the Templar story.
Yeah. It's a ripoff of those old stories, which are also made up.
I mean, maybe not made up, but, you know, exaggerated, of course, because, you know, it gives legitimacy, it gives power, because, like,
Yeah.
oh, you know, you're persecuted, you know, especially if you're persecuted by the church, must mean that you're doing something right. So, oh, you know, yeah, we'll protect you, we'll align ourselves with you. Oh, man. I mean, if you have a legit lineage and you can prove it. I mean, I don't want to be one of those soy jacks like, source? No, just... oh, I hate those. Like, with every comment, like, oh, you know, this and that and that. Source? Fuck you. No, but if you have a... if it is legitimate, if you can prove it through just documents, or even, you know, generational stories, or whatever.
Oh yeah,
that
yeah. In
is.
Greece, they claim that the YSEE, which is the main most popular pagan movement in Greece. They claim that they have those documents which prove their survival in Greece, but nobody has ever seen those documents, of course.
Yeah, no, come on. I mean, if you're gonna claim legitimacy, if you're gonna claim that you have those documents, then it shouldn't be a problem to...
Publicize them, yeah. They
yeah,
should be
or,
on the
you know, at
internet.
least to a very select few, to, you know, show those documents and tell them, like, hey, whatever you have read in these documents that proves our legitimacy, go tell the world, go tell all the doubters that, hey, we have read those documents, we can prove that we have read those documents, and we can prove that it is legit. There's nothing wrong with having a lineage, there's nothing... And then again, there's also nothing wrong with being a completely new group, a completely new tribe. I mean, the tribe of the Greyhorn Pagans were only a few years old. But my practice, my lineage, if you will, goes goes so much further back.
Yeah,
I started to to practice paganism, or at least become interested in paganism when I was I want to say like 20 years old. So that's a good 12 years now. And that's just me personally. I've always been exposed to religion. I've always been exposed to spirituality. So it's always been in my environment. But like the lineage of my tribe, few years, 2019, 2020, maybe.
Yeah, and if you keep practicing, if you keep following your religion, then within some generations you can also create your own lineage, and that's well, I guess what's happening with the Asatru groups that I mentioned. Even though you say that they're not as legitimate. As I think.
Not anymore, at least. They may have started off as legitimate Asatru communities, as legitimate Asatru tribes, but with fame comes a certain amount of power. With power,
corruption.
Oftentimes comes corruption, and maybe the members aren't aware of it, but that's because it's usually the corruption just takes place at the top. So their members are all there for the right reasons, but it's it's the head of the snake, if you will. I mean, snakes.
Unfortunately, it's just the consequences of Kali Yuga.
Yeah. Unfortunately, so I'm getting quite tired of the Kali Yuga. I gotta say,
how long do we have left? Like 2 million years? No, I forgot how long it was.
I mean, it's cycles of was it 12 to 14,000 years, and I'm not sure how long we've been in the Kali Yuga. I guess it also really depends on by which timeline you go. Like, do we go by the current timeline, which we just started counting from when we say Christ was born, or do we start counting from when our universe came to existence, when our planet was formed, or
I use the
when do we start counting?
From Christ is just fine. It's the universal way of dating events.
At least is now.
Yeah. Or you can just say BCE if you don't want to mention Christ before Common Era.
Yeah.
Yeah, we also have our Buddhist calendar, which let's see.
There are even theories going on that our current timeline, that 1,000 years has been added to it. And that, for example, the death and resurrection of Christ was a lot closer than we are being told, and most of the evidence that's given for that is on buildings. When you'll see the dating, it'll say like J694 or I694 instead of like 1694, and they are presenting it all as that's 694 years after Jesus, or 694 years after Iesu.
Yeah. According to the Buddhist calendar, we are in the year 2567. Which is calculated, by the way, from the death of the Buddha, not from his birth. Because that's when he reached his full nirvana.
Oh, that's when he reached enlightenment. That's a good place to start counting.
Not enlightenment, it's final enlightenment.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. There is a nirvana in life, and there is nirvana when you die. When
Nirvana
you
in life. I
there,
mean,
there is the
I know the grunge bands
you know,
Nirvana, but
there is a standard nirvana, and then there is parinirvana, which is nirvana without remains. That when you die, you no longer produce karma. So the life that you lived when you reach nirvana is the last life that you will live.
that'd be nice. I'm quite tired of physical life, especially in these days. Especially during the Kali Yuga. Can I just be born at, I don't know, like the Renaissance when things were interesting?
And yeah. That's parinirvana. Nirvana is often concept which is also misunderstood in Buddhism. They say that they use that argument, that fake argument, to say that Buddhism is a death cult. It leads to non-existence, and that's also nonsense, guys. Both nihilism and eternalism are rejected by the Buddha. Nirvana is just something beyond death and birth. It cannot be described in conventional terms.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So it's like transcending birth and death. It's not dying forever.
Okay, no, that would definitely be something completely different.
Yeah.
Of course, Nirvana is something different entirely. That absolutely makes sense. We're almost 2 hours in. Is there anything else that you wanted to share? Anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Well, I'd like to encourage people to visit Buddhist temples, especially the ones which are run by the native Buddhist communities, because the ones who are run by white Buddhists are often the New Age type of Buddhist. They don't believe in rebirth, they don't believe in karma, and so if you're interested in Buddhism, you can read a book like the Dhammapada. Even Ivola's book is a good introduction. If you scrap his beliefs he denies that there is a rebirth and denies that there is karma, because he was influenced by the Anglo-Saxon opinion on Buddhism of his age. But if you scrap all those wrong interpretations, then it's a nice introduction to Buddhism. But the best way to get acquainted with Buddhism is visiting the temples. You have to go outside and talk to monks and laymen to learn about the Dharma. The Dharma is something that is transmitted not through books, through personal experience, through contact with a teacher or other practitioners. And it's something to be experienced. It's something you had to experience. It's not something you had to read. So go. If you have any temples in your city, it doesn't have to be Theravada. It can be even Zen or Tibetan Buddhism, as long as they're legitimate, they're run by native Buddhists or somehow white Buddhists who still stuck to the traditional religion, then you're free to go. You can learn from them.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for this enlightening conversation. This was good. I've definitely learned a lot more about Buddhism, and a lot of thoughts have been conceptions have been rectified, I gotta say. So thank you very much for coming on. This has been great. Is there anything that you wanted to promote? Anything of yourself, or just where the people may find you if they want to continue this conversation with you?
Yeah, of course. You can check out my Twitter, my X account, where I post I post my stuff. I post about the various pagan religions of Europe. I also post the teachings of the Buddha and the other masters who followed him. And I also give my own takes, which might be agreeable or not. They're still my takes. And yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, on X. I also got a YouTube channel, but I do not make videos anymore. They were mostly memes, music playlists, now something to kill time. And yeah, that's it. I'm mostly present on X and on X because it's the most known social, which also allows fair degree of free speech. Unlike Facebook, Reddit, from which I got banned permanently on all my devices.
Yeah, but that's not really a challenge though. Getting banned off of Facebook, that is so easy to do nowadays.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to learn about Buddhism, I can suggest you some texts. Actually, I'm going to update my ticket post, my pin post, and post some useful resources to learn about Buddhism. But I suggest to read the Dhammapada as one of the best introduction to Buddhism. And if you don't dig Evola too much, then you can read some of the biographies of the modern Thai masters, like the biography of Venerable Acharya Mun, who was also one of the latest Arhants. Arhants means someone who has reached Nirvana. He was one of the last people to have reached Nirvana in our age, which has been documented. And it's an extremely interesting biography because it deals with the spiritual insights of this master. It talks about how his abilities, he could learn. He learned to talk with the gods, with the animals, to travel across the various realms of the universe. He even met the bodhisattvas and the Buddha at some point. And yeah, it's a very interesting biography to learn about the real Dharma, the real spiritual experiences, not just the kind of stuff you read in mainstream Buddhist books like peace of mind, being in the present, finding your inner peace. This spiritual biography delves into the various spiritual experiences of these masters, which are, by the way, described in very vivid terms. It's a very clear read. The teachings are very penetrating. They're very useful to learn about the Dharma outside the text, because the Buddhist texts are not like the Bible. They're not. You cannot learn everything from the text. You have to learn also from the living masters and from your own experience. And yeah, so that's what I suggest to read. But above all, you should definitely visit a temple in real life. Nothing can replace the experience of living in the Buddhist environment. Like, you have to experience it for yourself. It cannot be done by books.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with that, and that is the case with every religion, every spirituality, every spiritual path. You have to experience it to truly learn it. Yeah, I will make sure that at the very least your the link to your Twitter or X account is in the description box down below. If you could send me some of the titles of the books later on,
sure.
then I will.
I can send the links here because they're free.
If you have the links, that would be absolutely amazing. Then I will make sure to put those up in the description box down below as well. Make sure that everything.
I can send it in the chat box here.
That works. That absolutely works.
Of course, you will have to find the Evola book somewhere. It's not free. Well, if you want to get to unconventional means, then I won't.
No, I mean I'm sure they are archived somewhere. I found a few Evola books on.
You can just use
Google,
LibGen
Google
or
Books.
G-Library. LibGen or G-Library.
There are many options to find good text, to find good books. The internet is a huge realm of resources. So
thanks to the Russians.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you everyone who has been a part of this. Oh god, even more links. I have to Buddha.net's booklet. Oh, that's a thing. Okay, never knew that.
Yeah, there are official websites.
Oh, the more you know. The more you know. I will make sure that at least those two links and the link to your Twitter account are in the description box down below. Thank you again for coming. Thank you.
Alright, thank you for having. Thank you for welcoming me in this episode of your podcast. And lastly, I'm gonna say thank you to everybody for listening. If you are still listening,
they should.
Yeah.
And if they're not,
I invited some people on my Twitter. I don't know if they joined or they got bored and left. But whatever. Thank you, everyone, and have a nice day.
Yeah, you too, man. I'm just gonna close off everything here. So, to all that have been watching, to all have been listening, I say thank you very much. Leave this a like, leave something nice in the comments. Maybe your ideas about how we should connect the tribes, how we should bring back or revive the traditional values. Subscribe to the channel, because I always have awesome stuff like this, always have awesome guests like Angelo, for example. Share this with everyone. I mean, these teachings are to be shared, so why not? If you are listening to this on the audio platforms, leave us a 5-star rating. That really gets us pushed in the algorithm more, so that also through audio we can share all these teachings. And if you want to know more about what we do on the podcast, if you want to find out more about the tribe of the Greyhorn Pagans, simply go to our website, www.greyhornpagans.com. Everything can be found there, from the podcast to our books, blogs, web shops, things to support us a little more financially, because podcasting is awesome, but it is not without its costs. And it is my wish, it is my dream, it is my goal to make money either with podcasting or through podcasting. So every little bit of help is welcome. And with all that said, with all that plugging done that you're supposed to do as a proper content creator, I thank you all, and we will see you all next time on the Greyhorn Pagans Podcast. So until then, bye bye everyone. This was yet another amazing episode of the Greyhorn Pagans Podcast. We thank you all for watching. We thank you all for listening. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you will be notified whenever we upload something new. Support us on Patreon for early access and for everything else that we do with the tribe, for everything else that we do with the podcast. Find us on www.greyhornpagans.com. For now, we thank you, and until next time.